All right, folks, it's a little bit after 1, and we got a lot to pour into this half-hour webinar session today, so let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for another 30-minute expert session. Today we're going to be talking about 5 key ways to maximize equipment profitability with our B2w Maintain product. So let's get started with some introductions. My name is Mark Hooks. I'm a solutions engineer here for B2w Software. I've been with the company for almost 11 years. I started with the training and implementation team before I was brought on to do the product demonstrations as part of our sales team. And it's my pleasure to have alongside with me Mr. John Payne today. John is the product manager for our B2w Maintain element. John's going to be taking on a somewhat silent role today. He's going to be monitoring the questions panel as you guys post questions out from the audience. But I absolutely will bring John in if there's any questions that are outside of my expertise. We do encourage folks to ask questions along the way. We'll do our very best to get those answered. If the question is something that applies to the overall audience, we do our very best to address those questions during the webinar. If it's a question that's specific to your business or outside of the true scope of today's webinar, we may need to hold off and address those offline. And John will do his best to answer them directly via the questions panel as well. So for our agenda today, we got some folks on the line who are not familiar, may not have seen our product. So we're going to do a quick overview of B2w Maintain and talk a little bit about the one platform, and that's how our other elements such as B2w Schedule and B2w Track can all work together toward a common goal of managing your fleet. We'll do a quick overview of the 5 key areas of Maintain that are the topics of our webinar today, and then I'll open up the program and we'll show the functionality. We'll also have some time at the end for questions and answers as well. So, as you know, equipment management can be one of the most costly areas in your company. Your equipment's either making you money or it's costing you money. Companies need a way to really keep their fleet healthy. And this increases equipment utilization, uptime, lowers overall repair cost, and a lot goes into keeping your equipment up and making you money. It's a combination of managing the break-fix repairs, those reactive repairs, but also managing any incoming repair request of any kind. There's work order processing. There's mechanic schedules, preventative maintenance, timesheets, warranties, there's parts, inventory, purchase orders, and really all of that is what B2w Maintain does as a product. With our one platform, and you'll see that when I open up the product here in just a minute, B2w Schedule, B2w Track, and Maintain all sit on a single SQL database. What that means is they're sharing and communicating information in real time. This gives enterprise-wide visibility about your equipment, and that's like equipment status, location, repair history, all in real time as it happens. And just a couple examples to show how all the elements are helping to maintain your equipment. If the folks in the field, have a problem with a piece of equipment, they can put in a repair request using what we call B2w Track, and that repair request then goes directly to the shop. And they can actually follow the status of that request as the asset is repaired. And during the process, the dispatcher using B2w Schedule can also see that the equipment's down. So really, you've got all the products that we're going to be kind of looking at here in just a second, focusing on Maintain. They're all really working together for a common goal. So really, here are the key areas that we're covering in today's webinar. We're going to talk about user-defined preventative maintenance plans to really help with those preventative repairs to cut down on the reactive repairs, keep your fleet healthy. We're going to talk about the ability to track parts, equipment warranties online, again, to maximize coverage so you're not paying for repairs that you shouldn't have to pay for. Easy integration of telematics data and how we can import that in and use that in a few different areas of the program. We're going to talk about minimum inventory thresholds to prevent out-of-stock parts. So when you start to do a repair, you got the parts sitting there, you're not having to wait on it to get there, keeping that equipment down, again, costing you money. And then we'll also talk about real access to equipment data in the field. And I'll actually bring up our tablet application that the mechanics can use online or offline and show you what kind of information that they're going to have at their fingertips. So That's a lot for a 30-minute session, so let's get started. We're going to go into the actual product. I'm going to open up the home screen for B2w Operations, and this is what I was talking about earlier. This is our operations platform for the folks who've not seen it. This is B2w Schedule to schedule your resources out to your job sites, equipment moves, material deliveries, things like that. We have B2w Track, which is basically a way to track and collect field data, quantities, hours, and things, so that we can get an immediate comparison between how you bid the work and how you're performing it. And really what we're doing today is we're talking about B2w Maintain. That's going to be the star of the show today. And again, you've heard me talk about what B2w Maintain does, but it's all about getting information into your hands so that you can use that information to get your repairs done in a cost-effective manner. KPIs and things like that sit right on our dashboard, so you can see, how healthy your fleet as you go through. Let's open up B2w Maintain and show you what it looks like. So right here, I'm going to go into B2w Maintain. Across the top, there's a series of tabs that really are all the different areas within our B2w Maintain product. And we'll do a brief discussion on what each of those are before we get into those 5 key points today. The first thing you see is when the equipment manager logs in, he logs into a dashboard so he can see exactly what's going on both, at the job sites, if he's got things outside the shop, at the shop, so you can see a good look at everything that's being repaired today. Work orders by priority, hours, both regular and overtime, time card management, so we can get those time cards in and get them over to your accounting system so you're not duplicating entries. And then across the top, there's some navigation points to help the manager easily get to areas of the product, like to those time cards or past due work orders, or even the repair requests that have come into the system so that he can get those processed into a work order. And across the top, you'll see there's those requests, and we'll look at those in just a second. They become work orders in the system, which go into the multi-day schedule for your mechanics. We have the mechanic tablet app, which we're going to show you here in just a little bit, what kind of information the mechanic's going to have in his hands. As they do that, that creates their timesheets that we can push to accounting. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about preventative maintenance programs and how they can help you manage the health of your fleet. And then we'll talk about one-stop shopping for all of your equipment information. You're not looking in 40 filing cabinets or anything. It's all really in one solid spot in the program. We'll talk a little bit about parts and the warranties there. Inventory section is where we're going to talk about the inventory and those minimums. And we also have a purchase order section here as well. So now that you can see what's inside the program, let's start talking about those 5 key points of today's webinar. And I apologize up front. I'm going to have to bounce around just a little bit to cover everything, but I think it'll make sense to you as you go along. So we're going to start with warranties. We have warranty management for both parts and equipment. Once a warranty is in place, you'll be able to see if there are active warranties as you process the request and work orders. So the first place we're going to look at the repair request. And I'm going to bounce right here and take a look at the incoming or unassigned repair request. So it's going to take me right over to the next tab. It's going to filter me down to the request that I need to load into a work order. And these are a combination of break fix repairs that could be coming in from the field, that could be coming in from the shop, from the mechanic. The top one that you're looking at here, it's a preventative maintenance request that was automatically generated by the system based on meter readings, calendar readings. And again, we're going to talk about that in a little more detail here in just a second. You can see that this equipment has warranties in place. It's right there. And that information is also seen as you set up the work order to get it in the hands of the mechanic. And the mechanic will be able to see warranty information even on their tablet app, online or offline. Now, when I click this link, what it's going to do, it's going to take me over to the equipment profile so I can review the warranty information. Now we're in the equipment section of the program, and it actually brings me right to the piece of equipment that I need to check out for the warranty. Here's where it all starts. Right here in the equipment profile, this is where the warranty information is entered. And based on information such as the meter readings or calendar durations, you can simply just window over the end-to-end warranty and see what your expiration remaining is. Come down to our component level warranties, you can see that as well, subcomponent warranties. So you can really do warranties at any level to keep you informed of what's out there so that you're not having to maintain the cost of that repair when the warranty would cover it. So basically here, we can go in and we can also look at a report that will show you this information. You can really easily see here exactly what the expiration remaining is, but if you want to get a report so you can see a bulk of that information, we have that. I'm going to go right up here and show you what that report looks like. So this is where you can get that asset in the shop, do a double check on it before the warranty runs out. You have this report coming at you telling you that information. The warranty listing with expiration report that we have has, fields where you can really narrow things down. You can put in, maybe you want to see what's expiring by a certain date, or within a certain amount of days, or within a certain amount of units, or even what percentage. Maybe that's only 25% of the warranty remaining. I want to see all the equipment that fall into those filters. And down below, you'll see with no filters, it's pretty much bringing up everything for me. There's the asset. And there's my end-to-end, there's my warranty, there's my component, my subcomponent warranties. It's all there with expirations and things. Nice thing about our report system too is we use SQL reporting services for all of our report building. You can actually utilize SQL reporting services to schedule these reports to maybe hit your desk once at the beginning of every month so you can see what kind of equipment that's going to run out on their warranty. Again, getting it in the shop, double checking it before the warranty runs out. It's all about saving money on equipment repairs. So that's for equipment, but we also have parts warranties that we can manage as well. So I'm going to go back over to the program here, and we're going to go over to the parts area. For each of the parts that you have listed, you can list in warranty. And in this case, I've put in a 90-day warranty. So if I try to replace that part on the same piece of equipment within that 90-day period, I'm going to get a warning when I try to do that. I can even store attachments. Maybe I want to store the hard copy information of that warranty. So again, warranty management is right there at your fingertips, so we can keep you informed as you're going through the repair process, so you're not spending money you shouldn't have to spend on those repairs. All right, so that's the first example on how we can help you keep cost in check using warranty management. Let's talk about our next topic. We're going to be going over telematics integration. So we're actually going to go back over to the equipment profile to do that. Now, we have a somewhat agnostic approach in getting telematics information from your equipment. We have a few ways to do it, and the first is an automated electronic scheduled import of telematics information. And we can get that information from any telematics provider electronically, given that they are using the standard AEMP language. And I should mention that we can pull from multiple telematics providers, not just one. And there's a few areas in B2w Maintain that can use that information, really starting right here on the screen. If I click on the locations icon, I can see the most recent readings on where that piece of equipment is. And also, because I'm using B2w Schedule, I can see where the dispatcher has listed that equipment is. So in some parts of the program, we can do a cross-reference and saying, this is where it's supposed to be. Well, based on the last ping, this is where it is. So another area that uses that, we're going to go into the schedule for B2w Maintain. This is a multi-day scheduling screen to set up the daily work for your mechanics, not only for your guys, but if also if you're using things outside the shop, you can keep track of those repairs as well. From a couple areas in the system, you'll see the prompt, find nearby maintenance. So I'm going to open the wrench here, and there it is. So if you click on that, it brings up a map, and it's going to show you any equipment with a request or work order around the area where that equipment was that I just clicked on to see if there's anything near it. So based on telematics information, that's how we're getting the information in. Now, on first glance, I don't have anything. That's the same thing that I just clicked on for around the shop, but we can actually broaden our search in the program and go out to a 10-mile radius of that location. And by doing that, now you can see I have other equipment that's out there that's close enough that I can decide, what I want to do. And in this case, we're using this feature to maximize the mechanic's time. If there are other repairs near where he's working, you can add nearby work to cut down on travel time, mechanic costs, and things. So you can see here, there's the latest GPS location off the ping, off that asset. And that shows really a couple ways that telematics integration can help streamline things, both saving you time, and we all know time is money. Okay, that's that one. Telematics information not only shows location in Maintain, it actually feeds into our next topic. Now we're going to talk about those preventative maintenance programs. So we're going to go right here to my programs. PMs or preventative maintenance programs are really another way to help you maintain a healthy fleet and really cut down on those very expensive reactive repairs. The automation of these requests saves tons of time, and also it makes sure you're not missing any preventative maintenance. And that piece of paper didn't get lost over to the side that you needed to do that PM. It's all automated so that we can create the request you saw on the previous screen, all from information that's coming from the preventative maintenance programs you're seeing here. Now, these are user-defined preventative maintenance programs. You can see here that you can have as many PMs as you want, and within each PM, you can have as many levels deep as you want. Mine are very simple, just for demonstrations. So you can see here in my 100-hour service, this is what needs to be done. So when that request is generated, the mechanic knows exactly what he has to do. You'll notice I've also got a link to the CAT shop. That way, when the request generates into the work order, then the mechanic's going to be able to launch that from the field if he needs to get into the CAT website to get more information for his repairs. You'll notice here that intervals really are what set the stage for how we create the request. We can automate the creation of a repair request in a few different ways. One is the topic we were just talking about. One is using that telematics information that we import. So one efficiency there is really feeding into another part of the program and creating a seamless workflow and getting those preventative repairs done by tossing the meter readings in on the equipment. They look at the preventative maintenance program on how we want to fire off the request, and it all happens automatically in the background. Now, we do have other ways to get meter readings in. If you don't have telematics, you can put the meter reading in on the field log using our B2w track system, and because everything's sitting on one database, it's all shared here as well. You can import those readings in using Excel. Maybe you got a guy in a load truck, give him an Excel sheet, he can write down the meter readings and we can pull those in. And there's also a couple ways that you can go in and you can manually enter those readings in to fire off these preventative maintenance programs. You can also see we can do calendar durations to automatically create the repair request. So you can put it in, it needs to happen every 3 months. We can also do lead times here as well. Maybe taking the 100-hour example here, I don't want to see a request at 100 hours, it's already due. So we can actually determine how early you want to see that request. Maybe you want to see that request automatically fired off at 80 hours. So you've got some time to take that piece of equipment down, get it replaced, and also that gives you a little bit of knowledge on what's going to be coming into the shop. You can also see here that there are attachments that you can load in. There are hours, you can put in your planned hours, you can put in parts. All this information can be loaded in here so that you don't have to add this information in later when you're actually creating the work order. The more information you put in the hands of the mechanic, the more efficient they'll be in getting the repairs done. So with all of this, you attach the equipment that you need to the program. When that piece of equipment hits the appropriate meter reading or calendar reading, that automatically fires off the request that gets the work order in the hands of the mechanics. So again, automating this, again, saving time and money, which again is talking about cost. All right, next topic. Let's talk about parts inventory and minimum inventory thresholds. So we're going to go over to our inventory section of the system here. Now here in the inventory, you have the option to manage inventory of any part that you store. So if you open up a part, you can have it at multiple locations, multiple bins and drawers, wherever it sits at that location. You have your current inventory at each of those locations. Across the top, you have some master numbers for that part. You have the total current inventory. You have the on-order inventory, and that's if you're using our PO system to order your parts. We also have an area here for allocated inventory. That's if you've put a part on a work order, but the work order is not quite finished up yet. And then here's our big one. There's our minimums. That's how much you want to have at your shop to make sure that you have enough on hand. And for your overall inventory, now you have what's called a net position. That net position is a combination of all the numbers you see ahead of it there. And as long as that net position is above zero, you have enough parts in stock to run your shop. So basically, those numbers are making sure that again, you're not sitting around waiting on parts, keeping that piece of equipment down, costing you money and time. We also have a report for that. Rather than coming in and having to do a manual view to see what you have that's below your minimum thresholds, we also have a parts inventory report. Same type of filters. You can look for specific part number, description, percent above minimum, count above minimum, those kinds of things. And as you'll see for that fuel filter cartridge, it's highlighting that I have 3 at that shop when I should have 15. So not only do we have the master numbers for the overall inventory, now I've got information for each of your different locations showing up on the report. And again, you could schedule this to go out as needed. So no wasted time. Waiting on parts to be delivered to the last minute or days. You're always going to know when you're getting low and you can get those parts ordered on time. All right, for our last topic today, we're going to talk about real-time access to the equipment data for the actual mechanic. And as I said before, the more information that your mechanics have, the more efficient they'll be in doing their job. So I'm going to pull up our mechanic tablet application to show you the information they have access to in the field or in the shop. So bear with me just a second while I pull this over. Now, our mechanics tablet application can run off iOS or Android tablets. It can also, again, be used totally offline. So everything I'm going to show you is accessible with no access back to the network at all. So the mechanic initially is going to see the work orders of the work that's been assigned to him. So there's the work orders either by the day, all of his work orders by the week, however he wants to see them. And he'll be able to just tap right into those work orders, see an overall look, but also see how many different things he needs to do within that work order. You can have multiple items inside a single work order. You click on the item, you'll be able to see any comments there, any attachments there, and then this is where they'll be able to go in and report their hours and report the parts that they use on that work order. But there's another piece that is really nice to have in the hands of the mechanic. They'll have access to the full equipment information. So if I go to the menu here, you'll see the drop down of the different areas that they're going to have on the tablet application. If I tap on equipment, there's all the assets that you've given this guy permission to see. And in here, you're going to be able to see all the information on that asset. There's general information, there's equipment specs, there's component specs, there's warranty information. He's going to be able to see if he has warranties on the things that he's working on. And in the attachment section, the big thing here is we can have the documents, the service manuals, the hard copy warranty information, wiring schematics, all that loaded so that it comes into the hands of the mechanic. They'll be able to see recent meter readings and life-to-date readings. There's a short parts list that's been created for this equipment. But a big thing is the history on the equipment. And having that access to real-time history, whether it's things that have been done or about to be done or assigned, you'll be able to see the status of those work orders. But so let's say that the guy's out fixing a piece of equipment that's smoking. Well, let's say that there was a mechanic out there doing the same thing in the past. Well, he's going to be able to go in and look at that historical work order so he's not starting blind on a second repair. He'd be able to go right there, go into all the pieces, comments, everything that was listed in there and see that work order. All right, with all the key areas that we've looked at today, they all come together to give a very holistic approach to equipment repairs. Any one of these, as you could see, could probably save you money, but as a whole, you can see how all this really can come together to maximize the profits across your company by managing costly equipment repairs. Increasing uptime on your equipment and lowering the cost of ownership are critical to profitability for any company out there. Well, folks, that's what we wanted to show you today. It was a lot of information in a real short period of time, and we hope we gave you some ideas on how B2w Maintain can work for you. So we're going to go back to the world of PowerPoint here, and if there's any questions, any last-minute questions, let's go ahead and get those in before we close up shop today. While we're waiting on questions, our next webinar in the 30-minute expert series is going to be utilizing software to analyze time in the field with our B2w Track element. That's scheduled for September 19th, so keep an eye out for that. We'd love to have you join. And, if there's anyone out there who could not make the webinar today, we'll be sending out a link to all attendees so you can get that in the hands of the folks who couldn't make it. And on behalf of John and myself, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. If you have any questions after today's session, you can always call our sales department at the number on the screen here, or for our customers, you can call our support department. We'd be glad to help you in any way. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions coming in. So again, on behalf of John and myself, we really want to thank you for joining us in this really quick webinar today. And definitely keep your eye out for all the webinars. We do these fairly frequently. So keep your eye out, and we hope you can join us on the one on September 19th. But guys, thank you very much for attending.